The ruins of their home smoldered beneath an ashen sky. What had once been a bustling city was now reduced to broken buildings and shattered lives. The alien attack had come swiftly, with no warning, leaving devastation in its wake. Among the rubble, Adam knelt beside the remnants of a family portrait, his fingers tracing the smiling faces of his parents and daughter. A heavy silence hung over him, broken only by the distant sound of crackling fires. His grip tightened on the frame, his knuckles white with rage. Behind him, Kathleen stood rigid, where alien ships had disappeared into the night just hours before. She had cried all she could. Now there was only an empty ache inside her chest. She glanced at Adam and saw in him what she felt within herself. Fury, an unyielding thirst for vengeance. Their 10-year-old son, Isaac, stood between them, silent and withdrawn, his small hands clenched into fists. He had not spoken since the attack, not since his sister and grandparents were lost to the alien onslaught. Adam rose slowly, his body taut with anger. "This can't go unanswered," he said. Kathleen nodded. "We can't bring them back, but we can make sure those responsible pay." Isaac, standing still as a shadow, looked up at his father. His young face bore the weight of a much older soul. He did not cry. He had no tears left. Instead, there was something else, something darker, settling deep within him. He remained silent, but his presence spoke volumes. The decision was made without further words. The family would not sit idle, waiting for another attack. They would take the fight to the aliens, even if it meant chasing them to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. But they could not do it alone. Adam moved with purpose, gathering weapons from their wrecked home, the few that hadn't been destroyed in the assault. His background as an ex-soldier meant he knew how to prepare for war, but this time it was personal. "We'll need more than this," he said, gesturing to the sparse cache of arms. "We need a team, fighters who've lost as much as we have." Kathleen, sharp and pragmatic, was already on it. She activated a communication device, a relic from her days as a tactician in the Interplanetary Defense Forces. With it, she reached out to old contacts, mercenaries, veterans, bounty hunters. All men who had fought, bled, and lost because of the same alien race that had now taken their family. One by one, the responses came in. Faces, though unseen, were filled with grim acceptance. There was Royce, a hardened veteran whose family had been killed in the first wave of alien attacks. There was Mikhail, a bounty hunter who had spent years tracking alien fugitives before the war escalated. And then there was Dr. Gabriel, a scientist whose life's work had been destroyed when the aliens raided his research facility. Each had their own reasons to hate the invaders. Each had their own story of loss. As the names piled up, Kathleen's tactical mind went into overdrive, sketching out the first steps of their mission. "We'll need to find their base of operations," she said, voice calm and controlled, as though discussing any other strategy. "If we strike at the heart of their leadership, we might have a chance." Adam's eyes were hard as he fastened the last strap of his body armor. "We're not stopping until they're wiped out." Isaac stood nearby, absorbing every word. Though the adults didn't seem to notice, something was changing in him. His eyes flickered with a strange intensity, an unspoken connection to the tragedy that had unfolded. A deep unease settled in his chest, but he said nothing. For now, it was his parents' mission, their war. But Isaac knew that in time, his role would come. The family, now joined by a team of men driven by vengeance, prepared to leave Earth behind. Their ship, though crude and patched together, was fitted with the best weapons they could scavenge and modified by Dr. Gabriel's technological expertise. As they stood on the cusp of their journey, a heavy silence settled among them. For Adam, Kathleen, and Isaac, this wasn't just about revenge. It was about erasing the pain of their loss, filling the void left by the family members they could never get back. Their journey would take them across star systems, through the unknown, and into the heart of an alien empire that had shattered their lives. They had no illusions of survival. They were prepared to die for their cause. Adam stood at the ship's helm, his gaze fixed on the stars. "We're coming for them," he said, his voice cold and sure. Kathleen placed a hand on his shoulder. "And we won't stop until they're all dead." As the ship's engines roared to life, Isaac stood quietly behind them. He said nothing, but within him, the embers of something far more powerful than vengeance had begun to stir. The ship's engines hummed with a low, steady rhythm as they cut through the vast, cold expanse of space. Adam stood at the helm, his eyes locked on the infinite stars stretching out before them. The galaxy was vast, and the path ahead uncertain. But one thing was clear. They were moving toward their enemy. Behind him, the rest of the crew busied themselves with preparations for the battles to come. The ship may have been old, but it had been equipped with the best weapons they could scavenge, modified and enhanced by Dr. Gabriel's brilliant mind. Isaac sat quietly in the corner of the cockpit, his small hands tracing the control panels as if he knew them by instinct. He had always been drawn to technology, but now there was something unsettling in the way his fingers moved over the alien hardware, almost as though it responded to him. Kathleen noticed, but said nothing. She had other concerns. "We'll be hitting hostile territory soon," she said, breaking the silence. "There's a planet up ahead, one of the outer colonies where these aliens have an outpost. We'll start there." Adam nodded, but didn't take his eyes off the stars. He had learned long ago that victory in battle was as much about patience as it was about force. Still, his mind itched for action. Vengeance was a slow, smoldering fire within him, and it had been too long since it had tasted blood. Their target, the alien outpost on the jungle planet of Zorith, loomed ever closer. As they descended through the atmosphere, the lush, green canopy stretched for miles below, hiding their enemies in the dense wilderness. The ship touched down softly, with Dr. Gabriel guiding them to a secluded area far from the main outpost. The team gathered around, reviewing their strategy. "We hit them hard, no warning, cut through their defenses, and take out as many as we can before they have a chance to react," Adam said, his voice low but firm. His plan was simple, brutal, and effective, just as war had always been for him. The fighters prepared their weapons. Royce, the grizzled veteran, checked his heavy plasma rifle with practiced precision, while Mikhail, ever the cold and efficient bounty hunter, sharpened his blade in silence. Dr. Gabriel, armed more with gadgets than guns, adjusted a small drone that would provide overwatch from above. Each man was ready for what was coming. Isaac watched from the sidelines, feeling a strange stirring within him. His connection to the alien technology on the ship had only grown stronger during the journey, but he didn't understand it. He didn't mention it to his father or the others. He wasn't sure they'd understand, and he wasn't sure he wanted them to. As night fell over Zorith, the team moved silently through the thick underbrush, guided by the soft glow of the distant alien outpost. The air was thick and humid, the sounds of alien wildlife filling the background, but no one flinched. These were men who had long since been hardened by war, used to hostile terrain. Adam led the charge, his movements quick and sure, with Kathleen following close behind, her pulse rifle at the ready. Suddenly, the first enemy patrol appeared, cutting through the trees, their reptilian forms sleek and lethal. Adam raised his fist to halt the group, signaling the ambush. In a single, fluid motion, Royce fired the first shot, the bright blue plasma bolt hitting its mark and dropping one of the aliens instantly. The rest of the team followed suit, their weapons lighting up the night. Mikhail sliced through the enemy ranks with brutal efficiency, while Adam and Kathleen laid down suppressive fire, forcing the aliens back toward their outpost. But as the battle raged, Isaac felt something shift deep inside him. His pulse quickened and a strange sensation flooded his senses. Without warning, the alien technology all around them, their communications, their weapons, their drones, began to malfunction. Systems sparked and failed, as if being short-circuited from within. At first, the team didn't notice, but as the alien defenses crumbled far too easily, Adam grew suspicious. "What's going on?" he muttered, his eyes scanning the battlefield. Kathleen glanced back at Isaac, who stood frozen, his eyes wide and unfocused. It wasn't just the equipment. Isaac was somehow controlling it. With the element of surprise fully on their side, the team pushed forward, wiping out the remaining alien forces and securing the outpost. The victory was swift, but something felt wrong. Adam could see it in Isaac's face, the confusion, the fear. His son wasn't just a bystander in this war. He was becoming part of it, in ways none of them understood. As the dust settled and the outpost lay in ruins, Adam approached Isaac cautiously. "What happened back there?" he asked, his voice firm but laced with concern. Isaac shook his head, unable to explain the strange connection he had felt, the way the alien technology had seemed to respond to him as if it recognized him. "We need to talk about this," Kathleen said quietly, stepping beside Adam. "There's something going on with him." But Adam, still focused on the mission, pushed it aside for now. "Later," he said. "We've got bigger battles ahead. We'll figure it out when we get there." With the outpost destroyed, the team returned to the ship, knowing full well that this was just the beginning. The real war lay ahead, and whatever was happening to Isaac, it would only complicate things further. As the engines roared to life once more, Adam stared into the stars, his mind racing. Vengeance was still the goal. But now, a far greater mystery had begun to unfold. The ship's interior was silent as it drifted through the black void, but the minds of its occupants were anything but calm. Adam sat in the cockpit, eyes scanning the endless stretch of stars, though his thoughts were elsewhere. Isaac's unexplained powers weighed heavily on him, a mystery gnawing at the edge of his mission. It wasn't just vengeance anymore. Something deeper was at play, and he couldn't ignore it. Kathleen leaned against the control panel beside him, her sharp mind already working through possibilities. "We need answers," she said, breaking the silence. "There's something linking Isaac to these aliens. Something we don't understand." Adam nodded, his jaw clenched. "We'll find out soon enough. The defectors are waiting for us. They claim they know why the aliens attacked Earth. The defectors had contacted them only hours after their successful raid on the Zorth outpost. A small faction of aliens, members of the very species they were hunting, offered valuable information in exchange for their lives. Adam had been skeptical, but Kathleen saw the opportunity. If these defectors had inside knowledge, they could provide the key to destroying their enemy. As they approached the rendezvous point, a barren asteroid on the outer rim of the galaxy, tension filled the ship. Adam, Kathleen, Royce, and the others prepared for what could be either an ambush or the breakthrough they desperately needed. Isaac, quieter than ever, stayed close to his mother. His abilities, still a mystery, had grown stronger with each passing day, but he hadn't mentioned the unsettling dreams that had begun to plague him. Visions of alien worlds and strange, glowing symbols. The ship touched down on the rocky surface of the asteroid, and Adam led the group out into the thin atmosphere, weapons at the ready. The defectors emerged from the shadows, 3 tall, reptilian figures draped in dark cloaks, their eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. They were cautious, but there was no hostility in their movements. "You came," one of them hissed, his voice deep and rough. "Good. There is much to explain." Adam narrowed his eyes. "Start talking. If you're lying, this ends quickly." The lead defector, whom the others called Makar, raised his hands in a gesture of surrender. "We have no reason to deceive you. The attack on your world, on Earth, was not the decision of our entire race. It was the act of a splinter faction, driven by something far more dangerous than conquest." Kathleen, her analytical mind always working, stepped forward. "A splinter faction? What are you talking about?" Makar's reptilian eyes flicked toward Isaac, who stood behind his parents. "You've seen it, haven't you? The boy, he feels it. The connection." Isaac's gaze dropped to the ground, his unease palpable. Adam stepped protectively in front of him, his tone cold. "Explain. Now." Makar sighed, his sharp teeth flashing in the dim light. "Long ago, our people experimented with genetic manipulation, attempting to create hybrids, beings that could bridge the gap between our kind and others. Many of these experiments failed, but one succeeded. A program designed to fuse our advanced technology with the physiology of certain species, humans. Among them, Kathleen's eyes widened as the pieces began to fall into place. Isaac, yes, Makar continued. The boy is one of those hybrids. Your family was targeted because the faction responsible for the attack was seeking him. He is the key to their plan. Adam's hand tightened around his weapon, though he did not raise it. And what exactly is this plan? To dominate not only our worlds but yours as well. They believe that through Isaac, they can unlock a power far beyond anything either of our species has ever known. It's why they destroyed your family. To force him into revealing his abilities, Isaac, standing at the center of this revelation, felt his heart race. His nightmares, his strange connection to the alien technology. It all made sense now, but it did little to comfort him. The aliens hadn't just attacked them randomly. They had come for him, and they had killed for it. We never wanted this, Makar added, his voice softer. Our people are at war with this faction. They are a rogue element, and we have been fighting to stop them for years. That is why we are here. We need your help, just as you need ours. Kathleen looked to Adam, searching his face for a decision. There was no denying the importance of what they had learned, but it did little to ease the fury that burned within him. His grip tightened on his rifle as he considered his options. These aliens had information, but they were still part of the race that had torn his life apart. He didn't trust them, not yet. We'll help you, Adam said finally, his voice cold. But only because it gets us closer to wiping them out. Makar nodded, understanding the terms. We will give you what you need. The rogue faction's leader, the one behind the attacks, has a base deep in the Lorna system. If you want to end this, you must go there. The deal was struck, and as the team returned to their ship, the weight of their mission deepened. It wasn't just about vengeance anymore. It was about stopping something much larger, something that threatened both humanity and the galaxy itself. Isaac, still processing the truth about his origins, sat alone in the ship's cargo hold, staring into the dark void outside the viewport. He was no longer just a child caught in a war. He was the reason for it. As the engines flared to life, Adam stood at the helm, his eyes hard and focused. They had the information they needed, but the battle was far from over. With Isaac's abilities growing stronger and the truth of the conspiracy laid bare, they would have to face the heart of the alien threat head-on, and there would be no turning back. The barren, war-torn landscape of the Lorna system stretched out before them as their ship descended toward the rogue faction stronghold. The team had prepared for this final assault with grim determination, knowing that failure meant the end of their fight, and possibly the end of humanity itself. Adam stood at the helm, his face a hardened mask of resolve. While Kathleen ran through tactical maneuvers in her mind, her every thought focused on what was to come. For Isaac, though, this was more than just a battle. It was the moment his nightmares had been building toward, the culmination of the strange power stirring inside him. He could feel it now, more clearly than ever, an almost magnetic pull drawing him toward the alien base below. He no longer questioned it. The connection was undeniable. But what terrified him most was that he didn't know if he could control it. As the ship touched down in the heart of enemy territory, the crew gathered for what could be their final mission briefing. Dr. Gabriel's voice broke the tense silence. We're in the eye of the storm now. Their defenses are heavy, but we've disabled their comm systems. They won't be able to call for reinforcements. He looked toward Adam, waiting for the signal. Adam, ever the soldier, checked his rifle, his expression unreadable. We go in, take out their leader, and destroy the base. No hesitation. Kathleen nodded in agreement, but her eyes drifted toward Isaac, who stood quietly at the back of the group. Something had changed in him. She could sense it. A strength that wasn't there before, but also a darkness that worried her. As they moved out into the war-torn battlefield, the sounds of explosions and distant gunfire filled the air. Alien troops rushed to meet them, but the team moved like a well-oiled machine. Royce's heavy plasma rifle cut through the enemy ranks, while Mikhail's swift, deadly strikes left no survivors. Dr. Gabriel deployed a series of drones, providing cover from above, their precision blasts taking out key defensive structures. But even in the chaos, Isaac felt the pull growing stronger, the strange energy inside him building like a storm waiting to break. His vision blurred for a moment, and when it cleared, he could see things he couldn't explain, faint outlines of the alien technology, almost as if he could sense how it worked, how to control it. The team pushed deeper into the stronghold, making their way toward the central command chamber where the alien leader awaited. The enemy forces grew fiercer, but with every step closer to their goal, Isaac's power intensified. Suddenly, they reached the heart of the base. The massive command chamber loomed ahead, its walls pulsing with alien energy. At the center stood the rogue faction's leader, a towering figure with glowing eyes, his form encased in an advanced exoskeleton. The alien leader turned toward them, his voice echoing through the chamber. "You're too late," he hissed. "The boy belongs to us. His power will unlock the weapon that will wipe your kind from existence." Adam raised his weapon, his voice a growl. "Not if we stop you here." Before he could fire, the leader raised a hand and a wave of energy erupted from him, throwing the team back. Isaac stood frozen as the alien's eyes fixed on him. "Come, child. You know your destiny. You cannot escape what you are." Isaac felt the pull stronger than ever, the alien technology around him vibrating in tune with the energy inside him. His heart pounded in his chest, fear and power warring within him. He glanced at his father, at his mother, their faces filled with desperation. And then, in that moment, something inside him snapped. Isaac's eyes began to glow with the same eerie light as the alien leaders, and a surge of raw energy coursed through him. He raised his hands instinctively, and the alien technology responded, coming to life around him. The ground shook as the very walls of the chamber pulsed with power, controlled by his will. "No!" the alien leader roared, realizing too late that Isaac was beyond his control. With a fierce cry, Isaac unleashed the energy, directing it toward the alien leader. The chamber filled with a blinding light as the power tore through the exoskeleton, disintegrating the leader in a brilliant flash. The energy rippled outward, collapsing the base's power systems, sending the entire stronghold into chaos. As the dust settled, Adam and Kathleen rushed to Isaac's side, their eyes wide with shock. Isaac stood trembling, his hands still glowing faintly, his breath ragged. He had done it. He had destroyed their enemy. But in doing so, he had tapped into a power he didn't fully understand. Adam, for the first time, knelt beside his son, his voice soft but filled with awe. "Isaac, what have you done?" Isaac, still shaken, looked up at his father. "I don't know, but it's not over." And they all knew he was right. The war was far from over. Isaac's transformation had saved them today, but it had also opened the door to something far more dangerous, something they would have to face together,